I heard in Italy, if you're a gold medalist, the government is giving them $1 million or something.
Exactly, like the Philippines, right? Yeah. They've never really won one. I would say couple million would not be far-fetched. The sport of badminton in the U.S. has never been taken seriously. It's always been the backyard image.
Yeah, people play barbecue.
Yeah, where's my beer and my barbecue cookout, right?
Yeah. I'm no World Badminton Champion. I've won a school national championship in India when I was young. And I tell people about that sometimes when I meet here in San Francisco. Like, oh, the sport we play at barbecues? Like that kind of sport?
Right,
you play that? Like, yeah, we play it professionally.
Gotta be there, I'm losing my cool, I'm on the edge, something's taking over me, I'm gonna be down on my knees, you know I'm ready for this, you keep me begging for this.
This is the Ocio show with Rahul, where I have deep conversations with interesting people on topics that are meaningful, slightly personal, and perhaps controversial.
Roll with this. I could do this all day, I could do this all day, back up, I'ma run this town, I'm headed for the top and you know it's going down.
Because all the athletes were competing and training there. You had judo, swimming, taekwondo, weightlifting, you name it. Like that's where I met Kerri Walsh for volleyball. Initially, she was actually indoor, and then she, moved to outdoor, and then she was a legend, beach volleyball.
How many Olympic medals does she have?
I believe at least 2, and with different partners. Stevenlopez, taekwondo as well, 2 gold and 1 bronze. Save the best for last, Apolo Ohno, antonohno, speed skater, the most decorated Winter Olympian. So he would be the Michael Phelps.
Were you intimidated with all these athletic abilities, or was it like, hey, I'm better than these guys in general?
Yes and no. So in a sense where ignorance of bliss, right? I was young, I was 16, I wanted to leave home. Like, when you're 16, you know everything in life that you need to know. Your parents can't teach you anymore. So I packed my racket bags, I packed a bowling ball.
Bye-bye, Dad. I know you're my hero, but like, I'm going.
Hey, look, I'm ready to go. But essentially, I gave myself a scream after one rally. I'm like, hey, this is it. I was actually crying internally, and there's some tears outside because I knew, hey, this is my one chance.
It's tears.
Yes, it was tears of like urgency.
Yeah.
It was tears of, hey, look, this is it. You don't have another chance. And from then on, wow, we won 5 points in a row to like 14-9.
That's a psychological advantage if you win 5 points in a row.
Yeah, exactly, and momentum.
Yeah.
And the last point was magical at the same time because Tony was known to be the front player to set up. He is known to be very skillful. Nobody could challenge him.
So your strategy was initially he on the net?
Everybody knew like offense was our game because defense, my skills are limited. It was okay, it was enough. But when we attack, it was, pretty lethal and deadly. And he was setting up. I was, being brave and no looking back. We just kept at it. And what made it amazing was he set up and then I finished on the last smash.
So you had the final say.
Yes, well, he gave me the opportunity to end the rally and,
That's a good feeling, hitting the final smash and then throwing the racket up in the air or something and then getting down on the floor.
It was a relief for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, whoa, what just hit me? I still didn't believe it.
Pinch yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Participating in 3 Olympics would be something that I'm super proud of and very honored and blessed. Opening ceremony, I never miss it, even though I have to play the next day because it's magical.
Yeah.
The difference between the Olympics and like something compared to like the All Englands, which is considered as
the
tennis.
Wimbledon of tennis, yeah.
The difference is every 4 years you represent Team USA. So you're not really, yes, you're still the badminton team, but then hey, where's Team USA? Where's Team Spain? That kind of feels like, hey, look, we're in it together. So you don't feel like alone because not a lot of people play and participate. So when we travel, we always have a small team versus like you go to Denmark and China and then they have like 30, 40 people on the team. And they're just like, the energy is there and then we only have like 4. There's nothing wrong with 4, but the sport is changing. Our athletes are improving, so it's great to see us progress.
So you did Sydney, Athens, and Beijing. Which was your favorite?
Every particular Olympics has its like significance. Like you've mentioned, 2004 was the centennial, 100-year celebration. 2008 was Beijing, obviously, because what was amazing was, I think it was Li Ning was his name, the gymnast that ran around the stadium, suspended in air. You have to identify as a coach that talented individual that's not listening. Maybe it's okay for them to play singles because they're not communicating and putting their partners down. Versus you have someone who's very passive but very talented. But then you need a leader. Then maybe that individual could be the playmaker or whatever it is, the back player. So then you as a coach need to identify. But I would love to have players who are motivated. I don't need to push them, and I feel like they would like to win more than I want them to win. That's a start. I'd rather work with someone who's less talented, but they're driven, they're motivated. They're always there because there's more room to grow versus someone who's very talented, but who always shows up half the time, always complain they're injured and this and that. Yes, they're talented, but obviously look at Michael Jordan. He's successful because nobody knows he does suicides after training is over. Kobe Bryant shows up at 3 a.m. and he does his shooting before everybody practices, but nobody knows about that, right? So you still need hard work at the end of the day.
There's an interesting quote that I like. Give me somebody with an average talent and amazing motivation. Anyway, trump somebody who has amazing talent and mediocre motivation.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, because you have a flaw, you're willing to work harder for the flaw.
Yes, exactly.
Compensate for it. And it's interesting, like I was reading this book about what are the hiring criteria for apparently CIA, is that they want people who have traumas and flaws because they can
have more desire.
tune them to like work harder to please and to like actually do
That's
better.
a psychological approach.
Sometimes I've also talked to some coaches who said, we actually want somebody who has a little bit of inferiority complex because you coach them to do better. So I thought that was a very fascinating perspective as a coach.
That's why I believe
Then if you're a
star
player or a star coach, it gets into your head.
I get it, right? UFC players, before they fight, they have to convince themselves, hey, look, this is it. I'm going to beat him. That's the only way. You have to be the beast on the court.
Yeah. There is the Kobe Bryant way or there's the Noah Lyles way. Which way do you go? But I think personally, as an audience, we like the underdog story. We don't like somebody coming in on our face saying they're so great. We want to tell them they're great.
Yep.
We don't want them to tell us they're great.
That's why ultimately I think you should let performance speak for itself. As much as you hate or vouch against or whatever, or support a certain individual or team, the results will kind of reflect. And I'll give you a perfect story too. So obviously I'm a nobody, right, when I first partnered Tony. So we would go on tournaments, to tournaments in Asia, Europe, and when they see Tony, wow, their eyes glow up. Wow, hey, you're back.
Yeah.
I thought you retired.
Yeah.
Shake hands, say hi, walk right by me. I would, try to smile, put my hand out. They wouldn't even shake my hands. They're like, who's this guy? Is he your water boy?
I heard this about the Chinese Olympic practices. This is back many years ago. I don't know if they still do it, but they call it catch them young. So they actually go to these rural schools and look at kids who are potential Olympic winners, and they take them out and then put them in a special school starting very young age. Like you're looking at 8 to 12. That's all they do. They get education as part of it. So like a state-funded scheme, if I may. Do you think something like that probably would work in US? You think it's something like that is happening or in any circles?
To answer your question, these are the things that they're doing that stands out or differentiate. Obviously they have a big talent pool, so they're reaching out. I've heard not stories, essentially like testaments where they're measuring your height at a certain age. If you have flat feet, they will not consider you, but they have that luxury to do so, right?
Do you think the kind of players and the physique matter in badminton? And for a lot of people who don't know, badminton is the fastest racket sport in the world. What, 300, 400 miles an hour when you hit a birdie? So the only sport comparable apparently is snowboarding, because that reaches a certain miles per hour the human body reaches when you're doing that. But from a racket sport, this is by far like the fastest sport. My question is there a certain physique that's more beneficial for badminton when you see these these nations or when you yourself pick players?
Similar to tennis, you see a lot of singles players, great competitive singles players, top singles players. They're taller and slanky, more slanky because they cover the ground more. Back then, like you mentioned, maybe it's not as critical, but I feel like there's more plus than minuses to being tall. Of course, we're not talking like 7'2", right? If you're slow, you have to be explosive. You have to be agile. You have to be, your reflex has to be lightning quick. But taking that aside, I feel like it doesn't hurt to be tall. Like you have the number ones from men's doubles from India. They're really tall. They're both like 6'2", 6'3".
Playing a sport, especially at top levels, is a great thing in itself. But for people who don't want to actually compete at these elite levels, which is not something that everybody can or want to do, these sports still teach very valuable life lessons. My dad was a pro soccer player growing up in India, where soccer was not that popular. He always told me there are qualities that athletes have that other people don't have, and a lot of countries have these quota system for government jobs that they hire athletes for, and the idea was that they are different in certain ways. So what do you think is something that you got for your real life being an athlete, being a sports person?
Very blessed to be an athlete and represent the US, right? But more importantly, it has taught me to never give up. It has taught me to be okay, to kind of go at your own pace.